listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am your host, Barnabas.
And I am your co-host, Samael. Welcome to episode 68, The Possessed Come Home.
That's right, and we've actually got a pretty full lineup of horror movies today that kind of involve people getting taken over in a living domicile, so it makes sense. It kind of ends up being very familiar, but we're going to talk about that. The highlight, of course, in the main segment is our review of Annabelle Comes Home, the newest installment in the collective Conjuring verse franchise, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
So that'll be pretty exciting. We do, of course, have to start off with a quick shout out for Sports Radio Detroit, our host network.
Yes, and you can catch them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You just look up SRD, Sports Radio Detroit. That's SRD, Sports Radio Detroit, not Detroit Sports Radio.
And we do have a very quick and brief sponsored message, so just stick around, guys. We'll be back with the news. Here at Grave Discussions, we know that addiction can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Detox Helpline help you break your addiction to drugs and alcohol. Call the addiction specialist now at the Detox and Treatment Helpline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They're always available for you, and if you have private insurance, they specialize in finding you the right treatment. Give them a call at 1-800-213-9257. That is 800-213-9257.
All right, so a lot of developments in the world of horror, as always, over this past week. So the first, not completely new, but Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell getting an official poster release art and an official day now, so I guess that's cool. What's the day there, Samuel?
Looks like 900 select movie theaters on the 16th, 17th, and 18th
of September.
Yes.
Yep. So, I mean, that's kind of cool, but honestly, it's a little weird to me that it's like this kind of more underground, like select theaters kind of a thing. Like he's making it out to be way more important than I think it actually is.
I agree.
And I kind of looked it up. There are like almost 6,000 locations, like theater locations in the US. So he's only showing it to a sixth of the country or something like that. I don't know. I don't get it. It's very weird.
Yeah, let's waste this whole big budget on this movie and then let's not make our money back.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they're going to aim for a wider release or just try to go through like digital or Blu-ray. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me, but
I mean, Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses were big.
Yeah, pretty much.
I still remember sitting at home when I was a little kid and watching the trailer for House of a Thousand Corpses, and in the fucking preview was just a guy, one of those teenagers fucking running around yelling, Dr. Satan!
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, no, they were. And I mean, I think that this movie is pretty big, but it's just an odd release for what this movie is supposed to be. But yeah, if you're interested, you can check it out on those days. It's going to be through Fathom Events, I believe. So once it gets closer, you'll just be able to check if theater near you has it, I guess. So let's move on now to this next article. A lot of horror being made into TV shows recently. This one is no different. And just like Child's Play, it's a franchise that we're not only getting a new movie of, but also simultaneously getting a show. It's Hellraiser.
Yeah, and it's going to have It producer Roy Lee and the Ready Player One producer Dan Farah, and they're going to bring Hellraiser to the quote-unquote small screen.
Yeah, so there's not really much more information than that as of right now, but there is a quote here that basically kind of explains what they're trying to do with it, and the intention apparently is to use the mythology established both in the franchise and in Clive Barker's The Hellbound Heart, which of course is the inspiration for the film, as a launch pad for a new series that could be anthology or a more traditional narrative. So it sounds like they don't have a firm kind of idea about how they want to portray the show, but I mean, I'm pretty interested in either one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I don't know. The most recent Hellraiser installments haven't been exactly up to par with, I don't think, anyone's standards. So
Yeah. I haven't watched Hellraiser Judgment, which I think was the newest one, but
I watched that shitty one on Netflix
Mm.
like a couple of years back, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this new Pinhead?"
was it the chubby cheeked guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What was it, Revelations, or I don't
I
fucking
think
know.
so. Yeah, it's not the same guy in the newest one. It actually kind of resembles Doug Bradley a little bit more, which is cool, I guess. But I haven't seen the movie. It didn't get like rave reviews or anything. So
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, so I'm kind of excited to see what they do with the show. I think if they really kind of bring it back to the roots with like those really dark, disturbing vibes, it could work as either an anthology or a narrative thing. I think I'd like to see more of a narrative, but stretching it out over like a show's length might be kind of weird. And I don't know how they would do it exactly, but yeah, we'll see. Once we have more info, we'll let you guys know, of course. And then finally, another show announcement. This one is kind of going to blend horror with various other genres. Neil Gaiman's Sandman series is being adapted into a show as well by Netflix.
I don't even know what the hell Sandman is. You gotta fill me in.
All right, so you know who Neil Gaiman is, though, right?
Nope.
Okay, he's the author behind Good Omens and American Gods and various other books, like pretty popular like science fiction kind of devils and angels kind of books, stuff like that. And so Sandman is actually a graphic novel of his, and it basically revolves around this entity known as Morpheus, who is the Lord of Dreams. So it's this very like far-reaching cosmic kind of story, but it's about Morpheus, who's like the Sandman. He, has control over dreams and stuff like that. And he's been asleep for 70 years or something like that, and he wakes up and he basically goes on this journey to kind of reclaim his, I guess, I don't know, power or something along those lines. And he interacts with all sorts of other cosmic entities and things like that. I've never read it, but visually it looks awesome, and apparently it's very good. So,
all right, I'd be down to check it out since I know nothing about it. So once this comes out, I can kind of like get a grasp of things without having to read much.
Yeah, apparently it's like extremely, not like trippy, but sort of existential. It's just very kind of, I don't know, it's about like cosmic deities and shit. So, it's kind of more, I guess, higher level if you want to call it that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I do kind of want to read the graphic novel. It looks good. So once we have more info, we'll let you know. There's no date or anything like that set yet. But then we just have a few trailers to round out the news, and we'll go through these pretty quickly. The first one, probably the biggest from this past week, the Jacob's Ladder remake.
Mm-hmm.
New trailer for that.
And it looks completely different from the original, completely different storyline, completely different everything, characters, and I don't know, it does not look bad at all. I like the way this dude, his brother comes back or whatever, he thought he was dead. Kind of reminds me of the movie Death Dream by Bob Clark. They thought their son was dead. He came back from the war, and then he was all weird and stuff. And it's kind of what's going on here. This guy's brother comes back, and they thought he was dead, and he wasn't. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I mean, the demons look cool that they showed us. It doesn't really look as bad as people said. Nothing really wrong with it other than it's not the original Jacob's Ladder, and that's not even something that's wrong with it. It's just different. Remakes can't be the same.
Yeah, similar to what Child's Play did, I guess. This one not approaching it from the psychological perspective of, well, it does, but it seems like the actual PTSD symptoms and issues stem from his brother. So it's almost like, by proxy, like we're seeing it from that perspective, but it's really stemming from his brother. So that's kind of cool. I'm interested to see how they do that. Michael Ealy, Jesse Williams, Nicole Bahari, bunch of other people star in this. So I'm excited for the cast as well. I think they're all pretty good actors. And yeah, the demons look pretty cool. I'm excited. I just hope it kind of reaches the same level, like psychologically, you know?
I hope so, yeah, because the original, like, it was fantastic. We reviewed it like quite a while back, but that one I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was a great film. So be on the lookout for that one, guys. It's coming out August 23rd in theaters. And I guess if you have Dish, they're like showing it specially on Dish before that or something, which is, I don't fucking know, man.
Amazing. Wow, Dish, you are really a notch above the rest.
It's something. So, guys, the next trailer we have is less a horror movie and more of like a kind of murder, whodunit, thriller, comedy sort of thing. Almost in the same vein as something like Clue, I guess.
Yeah.
It very much just resembles like an old Agatha Christie or Sherlock Holmes type of book. But this one's got an all-star cast, and it concerns the patriarch of what I assume is his big family being killed, and people bring in this detective played by Daniel Craig to try and figure out how he died. And it looks like the family's going to get roped into it, and one of them might be the murderer, so it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, Toni Collette, the little fucker who played Bill, James Bond is in this.
Yeah.
The black dude that got kidnapped at the beginning of Get Out. I don't know anyone's names. I know I'm better with faces.
Michael Shannon, Lakeith Stanfield, just a bunch of people in this movie. Christopher Plummer, Chris Evans, Captain America himself, just going shit all trailer long. Yeah, so this is like one of the best casts I've seen in a movie probably this year so far. So
yeah, it's insane.
I'm super excited, and I'm a big fanboy of all those like detective mysteries, like whodunit mysteries. So,
and I'm a Jamie Lee Curtis fanboy. Yeah. Anything she's in, I love it. So
yeah, her and Toni Collette in this movie together is pretty nuts.
That's what I thought the second I saw that fucking trailer. I was like, yo, both of them.
Yeah,
and Toni's gonna be like the GOAT of our generation. So
yeah, she's rising up there for sure. So yeah, guys, check that one out. It's coming out November 27th in theaters, so still a little ways off, but I am pumped for it. It's going to be a good kind of fall into winter movie, I'm guessing. And then the last trailer is called The Deeper You Dig. Now, this one doesn't have a set release date. It's coming out August at Fantasia Film Festival, but it looks pretty cool. It's a independent psychological horror movie, it seems like.
And it's kind of like, it's one of those like deeply experimental movies where it just like focuses a lot on like imagery and like not even really a score, just like weird sounds and like really depressing themes and murder and death and all this stuff intertwines.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to have a relatively simple premise where it concerns there's a police investigation into this girl who went missing, and her mother is really kind of at the forefront, and she's into some kind of spiritual stuff, at least
like tarot cards and shit.
Yeah, and then there's like what we assume is a seance. So it looks pretty interesting. I think they're gonna do a fairly good job of like spinning that sort of typical like narrative around, but it does look pretty low budget. I don't know, the acting looks okay. Apparently it's all created by like one big family, so I mean that's pretty cool.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. So guys, that's it for the news. Let us know what you think about these announcements, but we're gonna get right into the meat of the show here with our first segment where we examine a classic horror film in The Cult Corner. All right, creeps, welcome back to this week's Cult Corner, where we have not Creepshow this time, but another classic from the 80s, Night of the Creeps.
And this one was fucking spectacular. Like, if you ever wanted to feel the spirit of the 1980s, as I always say, this is the movie to do it. You got creepy crawlies, you got teenagers who act like fucking assholes. Not teenagers, but like frat boys and kids who want to be frat boys, and dudes just trying to get laid overall. So
yeah, and it really has a really cool story, though. You take that very kind of stereotypical horror movie shell, even in the 80s when it was happening everywhere, right? But this was like the mid 80s, so I think filmmakers had a pretty good idea of what the trend was at that time. And some filmmakers noticed that and they take it, but they make it innovative, you know? And I think Night of the Creeps did that for sure because, first of all, who the fuck makes an alien zombie slithering creatures where they like explode in your head and release these slugs, like that kind of movie? What the fuck?
The first thing that, like, I didn't know where the movie was really gonna go, because at the beginning you got those weird, funny-looking, angry alien dudes.
Yeah.
Two of them are chasing down the other one. He's trying to release this experiment, and they're like, "Don't let him release it." And guess what he does? He releases it, and ends up on Earth, in an axe murderer
Yeah.
who like killed 4 orderlies, and then he kills Tom Atkins' ex-girlfriend and her current boyfriend, and then it just goes crazy. Then fast forward like 20 years later, these white dudes are trying to get into this fraternity, so like this chick can talk to one of them, and Chris is the guy who wants to talk to a girl, and his boy JC, you know, tries to walk over to, "Hey Toots, you know, what's your name? You know, you got a boyfriend?" You know, typical 1980s stuff. You can only imagine, all right? And then, you know, Chris tries to go out of his way, join this frat, so they're like, "Hey, steal a dead body." So they go to the university morgue, right?
Yeah.
And JC types in 0 on a keypad, and that was the password to open this door where they keep this top secret that nobody should be able to find unless you know how to press the number 0.
Convenient.
Convenient, yes. And then they let loose this guy who's been dead for like 27 years or preserved for 27 years, and then he kills the janitor, not the janitor. Eventually he kills the janitor, not him, but the slugs. He kills like the fucking other scientist dude that's in there or whatever. Then he escapes to that girl, Cynthia Cronenberg's house,
Yeah.
and his head explodes and these worms come out. Then the cops show up and everyone's like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Well, here's this dead guy from 27 years ago." And then Tom Atkins starts having his little PTSD flashbacks and his catchy one-liners. They're like, "Detective so-and-so?" He's like, "No, Bullwinkle Moose." Like, he's the best part of the
It
movie.
really is.
JC, too. I like JC.
JC was great, dude. That monologue that he gave to Chris, basically going like, "Hey, I'm fucking disabled, but I'm trying to get you laid here."
Yeah.
And, like that. I mean, obviously he did it way better than that. Like, it was actually really well written, and yeah, he knocked it out of the park. But
Yeah.
he was an awesome character. I was sad to see him die.
He shouldn't have died, but he was the reason we found out like more about the slugs. So apparently when they infest your brain, you die immediately, but you could still walk and have brain function. And then JC found out the way to kill them is, surprise, fire. And a lot of homages in this movie. Chris's last name was Romero. You had James Carpenter Hooper. You had Raimi. Fucking Cronenberg. You know what I mean? There's a lot of shout outs.
Landis,
Landis. Yeah. Honestly, everyone in this movie is just it kind of reminds me of that movie Lost After Dark, where everyone's named after like famous horror people like Jamie and all that shit. And doesn't really change the story at all, though. Like, it's a nice little thing, like, for us to like catch, "Aha, I know where you from."
Yeah.
Like, but overall, it was a great movie. I enjoyed the score. Honestly, at one point, right after the dude's head explodes, after he scares Miss Cronenberg, and then Tom Atkins shows up, and then like as soon as he's like walking up to like the sorority, you hear that modern like ooh kind of music. I was like, what the fuck? Like, why is this in an 80s film? This is supposed to be lighthearted, goofy horror fun, you know? It's not supposed to be serious, but
some of them did that, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I really liked everyone in this movie. Even what's his name? Chad, the douchebag boyfriend.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is when he knocked on Cynthia's door and like she didn't even look at him to see that he was like a zombie. She just walked out on the porch with him. "Oh, you know, I'm not saying it's over, but maybe when you
It seems really weird, like, now that we look at it, because it just seems like it's a glaring oversight in the writing. Like, who would be so stupid as to like not notice that their boyfriend was like a mutant or zombie or whatever? But I don't know, it kind of fit the movie because the movie itself was very like campy, you know.
I only have one phrase to describe this movie. It's Miller time.
I thought you were gonna say "thrill me." That was a great line as well.
It was, but its Miller time was
Yeah.
perfect.
It was. I mean, honestly, yeah, this movie was incredibly well written. That's like the one thing that stands out to me personally, because I could connect with all the characters. I mean, not like connect with them, but at least kind of care what happens
Yeah,
to them.
exactly.
I mean, Tom Atkins himself is a gem, so pretty much any role that he does, I'm gonna fall in love with. But
He's the only good thing about Halloween 3, I want to say.
I don't know. That's a whole other discussion. I kind of appreciated lots of parts of that movie, but he was the best part. I will give you that. But I mean, he is the standout in this movie too. But even like the lesser known kind of actors, Jason Lively, who plays Chris, Steve Marshall as JC, of course. As I mentioned, awesome job with that monologue. In general, just did a great job in this movie. Yeah, everybody was great and made it really enjoyable. And just that crazy story made it a really fun watch, which, I mean, I think that's what it's known as at this point. It's like just a good like popcorn flick on Friday or Saturday night. It's not to be taken very seriously. We see that right from the beginning. We have like real little people dressed up as aliens.
Yeah.
It's like really noticeable, and they're just like zapping, like CGI laser beams, so the crazy thing is that we never even like see those aliens again.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck happened? What's this experiment?
They don't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't, I guess. Which is cool.
I think this movie definitely inspired Slither, let's be real.
I think so too. You know what, and I like that there are some goofs in this movie too, because I've mentioned this to you before. This was the movie where like if you pause it right, when those like slugs are flying across the screen, you can see the strings like pretty clearly. But
did you notice after they set Chat on fire, Cynthia was getting grabbed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of screaming Chris, she was screaming Chad.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I guess you would have been kind of upset about him being burned alive, but
she was getting grabbed by another zombie, and like she was screaming Chad at Chris.
Oh, like to come help.
Yeah, that was a goof.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not that surprised. A lot of these movies have a lot of goofs. It just really matters like if you catch them or not, because while they're happening, you might not catch them.
Dude, Greg Nicotero plays a zombie extra.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this movie is just chock full of 80s goodness, just straight up. Even in just the references. But like I said before, it's still such an innovative story, and like what they did with the sci-fi. They even incorporated like slasher elements into it with the axe murderer, with even the way that the zombies were like stalking the girls at their sorority house or whatever. So I mean, they like successfully mashed like all of these subgenres of horror and all these homages. It just made something really special, I thought.
Speaking of homages, there was an homage to Halloween 2 at the end. Old guy in a trench coat commits suicide with a lighter to save everyone.
Oh, yeah. That's true. But he came back, though, kind of, at the end there. Not in Halloween 2, I mean, Night of the Creeps, we saw Tom Atkins still walking around at the end.
Was he?
Yeah, that was him. Like, he had that cigarette in his mouth in the trench coat. And like that, and then right after that was that shot where where we saw like the spaceship flying or whatever.
Did you watch the theatrical cut or the director's cut?
I don't know. I watched whatever was on Sony Crackle, because that's where I found it.
Because I watched the theatrical cut. What you're talking about might be the director's, because like the theatrical cut, like he died, and then like they cut to like the front of like the thing, and then Cynthia goes over to that dog. To try and pet it, and then the dog spits a fucking worm at her.
Oh, I don't think that happened in the one that I had.
Yeah, you watched the director's cut.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
I watched the theatrical cut.
I was gonna say, because I don't think I've ever seen that before. Or maybe I have seen it before. I don't know. I have the DVD, so I think that what you're describing sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's probably you probably watched the director's cut. I have that too. I was gonna watch it last night as well, so I could speak on both of them. But like, you know what's cool? That there is a director's cut of most movies. So like, not most movies, some like good movies. So like, even though we review this now, one day we can review the director's cut.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure which is which, because it wasn't like labeled as a director's cut or anything, but it had, it showed like a charred, burnt corpse. What I can only assume was Tom Atkins, of course, after, setting himself on fire. He had the cigarette in his mouth, and he was kind of just walking around, and then I forget if something else happened, but then it showed a scene, I believe, of it was like a really wide out shot of like the city or something like that. And I think it had like the spaceship, the alien spaceship flying.
That's
or something
definitely
like that.
not in the theatrical
Okay,
cut.
so
So
it's different.
you definitely watch the director's cut.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, that was pretty cool. The ending doesn't really matter. Obviously, we never got a sequel to this movie or
Oh, yeah.
anything, but, you know,
I wish we did.
both those things are just kind of cool things to play around with, you know, like
Oh, yeah.
what's really happening? Are the aliens going to invade Earth or something? Because we never figured out what happened with the experiment. So,
We didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
yeah, not at all. So, but we didn't really need to, I guess, in the end. Just a really fun, cool story. Makes this movie an instant cult classic in my book. And, you know, it's something you could turn on the weekend, just have fun with. So I think it definitely deserves its cult status. I, for one, love this movie. So, yeah. All right, guys. So now we're going to move on into our main segment. Night of the Creeps, not quite so, you know, like spooky ghosty as far as a horror movie is concerned, but we are certainly going to be talking about one in the next segment. Just stick around. We've got a few sponsored messages, and then we'll be back.
Hi, this is Jason Pinkett from Pucking Around and Spinning the Wheels on Sports Radio Detroit. Check us out every Sunday over on the SRD Hockey feed on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. That's SRD Hockey in your search bar. New episodes every week.
Hey, Samael.
Hey, Barnabas, what's up?
Oh, not much. Have you ever written a book?
No, but I've written a musical.
Oh, well, you can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company.
Aha, I hear countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their books to the market.
Their professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, their authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books.
So, make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Do not wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author.
And seeing your name in print.
Aha! You've already written a book. Next thing to do is make this free call now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
The number is 1-800-213-9259. Again, 1-800-213-9259. Welcome back, boils, ghouls, and children of all blood types. We have a special exclusive review for everybody on this episode, and we're going to be talking about Annabelle Comes Home, directed by Gary Dauberman.
And we will answer your questions of, was it good, was it bad, and how does it tie into the Conjuring universe?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I had to actually go back and kind of read all the plot synopses of like all the Conjuring movies and like figure out which year they take place in, because they always tell you, and now everything is all fucking jacked up because studios don't want to release stuff in order, of course.
Yep.
So Annabelle Comes Home actually takes place in 1972, which in the canon of the franchise takes place a year after the first Conjuring film. I think the first Annabelle took place in like 1968 or something like that. So
Annabelle comes before
The Conjuring, and then Annabelle Comes Home takes place pretty much in between, I think, The Conjuring 1 and The Conjuring 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's all jacked up. They're telling it basically out of order, but yeah. This movie, though, doesn't really involve Ed and Lorraine Warren quite so much. It actually focuses more on their daughter. So this is like a year after they bring Annabelle to their house, they lock her away, and you see that at the beginning of the film, actually. So there's some setup. But then, yeah, it just kind of revolves around their daughter, Judy.
And then it turns into this like overnight isolated incident thing,
Mm.
which I do like because I like movies like, The Possession of Hannah Grace and
Mhm.
Cry Wolf and Halloween and Friday the 13th and stuff like that. All these things that take place in like a few hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is one of those movies. This isn't like The Conjuring, like 3 months later, and other shit's going down. Like, no, this shit's going down the whole day. There's demons run amok. There's cursed stuff running around. There's teenagers touching stuff, even though like specifically said do not touch.
Yeah, so like you pretty much mentioned, quite different than really like any movie in the franchise so far, because the whole possession angle historically kind of is supposed to take place over a span of time, because that's what's believed about demons or spirits. Like, it needs time to be able to possess you. And so I think that that's really kind of why we usually see that. But this time it's more of like your stereotypical, hey, there's white people here, they're fucking around with something that they're not supposed to fuck around with, because they're like, oh, this seems like a good idea. And then basically shit just kind of goes crazy. But it does allow for pretty good narrative structure where the pacing is quite good, and we're able to just kind of jump from scene to scene without those kind of, well, there's filler scenes, but those filler scenes of like, hey, you're going to the market, or hey, what's going on today? Oh, tomorrow this happens. I don't know, that kind of stuff can get kind of old fast. But this movie didn't really have that. Despite that, though, still, in my opinion, a lot of kind of unnecessary filler scenes in between the scares.
Yeah, I felt like there was a lot of unnecessary filler. I felt like it took a while to like get going. I did not, if you noticed, I was trying to like be interested in the movie while we were chilling there, but there were so many people like talking, and the little kids were getting kicked out, and people were having like conversations while and all the older people would just turn around and look at them. I noticed, like, yo, you kids need to learn how to respect everything, because these younger kids are assholes, bro. Like, they want to fucking cry about, I'm sad and no one takes me seriously, yet they disrespect everyone. Like, good, you deserve to get slapped up by older people. Yeah. Honestly, talking people is what ruins every movie experience for me. Like, just shut the fuck up. Why are you going to the movies to talk? You could have just bootlegged the movie, sat at your stupid fucking house with your stupid fucking friends, smoked your stupid fucking weed, and just talk to each other. We don't want to fucking hear your conversations. And the people yelling like random shit, like when Annabelle first showed up and they're like, oh my god, it's like, you're not going to make us laugh, bro. You younger kids are not funny. I don't know if you know that, but you're not. Anyway, back to the movie. I felt like the pacing was fine, besides like the fact that like there's a lot of filler scenes, but once shit gets going, it gets going. Yeah. We saw a demon. We saw a hellhound, which is cool. I wish they make like a hellhound movie, like a spin-off in the Conjuring universe. Make like a whole movie about the hellhound.
There's supposed to be some big thing in the Conjuring 3 where, well, people thought it was going to be a werewolf thing. Now it's I don't know. I don't think it's going to be related to what's in Annabelle Comes Home, but they might be doing something similar-ish. But yeah, that was cool.
I just liked how that chick, she touched literally everything in the fucking room full of haunted shit, basically, and like everything that she touched was like, hey, guess what? I'm coming out. Like,
yeah, that's kind of one thing I didn't like. Her character was just so blatantly stupid. I mean, not stupid, but I mean, the like launching pad for the story was just something that was like way too conveniently dumb. You know what I mean? And so I kind of didn't like that too much. Other than that, the writing was okay. Apart from just, I don't know why they decided it was so necessary to include all that filler. A lot of it was not important at all. It was just,
he's got balls or whatever the fuck.
It was just like I think it was Bob's got balls.
Was it Bob?
Yeah.
Well, they're just fucking...
Yeah. It was like, there was no point, because it was all just like minor character development, essentially. But even then, it was kind of stupid, because the movie's just taking place over one night. I don't really need to get to know this person over one night. It's not a good sample size to get to develop a character in the first place. So it's better just to have more action and more scares. And I mean, so what did you think about the actual scares in this movie, without giving too many spoilers or anything?
All the jump scares were predictable. I did not jump once.
Okay, fair. Me neither.
Usually the Conjuring universe jump scares will get me. This did not.
Yeah. So, I mean, as the trailer kind of promised in this movie, there were going to be a plethora of actual demons or entities, and you find out why that is as, you know, the story progresses. But I don't know, I kind of feel like almost the overabundance of them made it a lot less scary.
Yeah.
Because you were just expecting to see all different kinds of things. I mean, the makeup and effects and everything on them was cool. I thought the creatures or entities, whatever, actually looked pretty cool. But I mean, yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot of effectiveness. The ferryman was probably the coolest one.
I don't even remember that.
With the coins in the eyes and stuff like that.
Oh, all I remember was like the bride bitch. You know? Like,
yeah. Yeah, which we didn't really see a whole lot of, honestly, like as an actual, I guess, ghost or whatever. But
the way they got rid of her, though, come on.
yeah, I don't know.
I guess it was clever, but come on. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know, dude. All of it was, like you said, pretty predictable to me, especially the ferryman, I think, was like the most predictable scares. I mean, we didn't have a packed theater or anything, but I don't think anybody really screamed or jumped or anything like that. So, and a lot of cliches too.
there was a lot, yeah.
You know, fucking with even the trailer, you saw it with pulling on the leg in the bed, the classic kind of like the end of Wreck where it just gets pulled away. We've seen that in a bunch of Conjuring.
Dragged away, yeah. Oh my god.
So, you know, just nothing really too innovative in the realm of the scares, and honestly, in the story overall, not so much. It was cool that they had all the demons and stuff being released, but other than that, like, what was very unique about this movie?
Nothing other than the fact it was another fucking sequel.
Yeah. No, which honestly, like, that's one of my biggest cons about this movie too. I'm going to get into what I liked about the movie, but one of my biggest cons about this movie is just that, like, why does it exist?
Yeah.
You know, like, I can't give you a straight up answer.
I mean, we knew everyone was going to be fine because we watched a movie that takes place after this.
Yeah.
And all those people are still fine. Like, Ed and Lorraine Warren are alive.
Mm-hmm.
Their daughter's alive. So, like...
Well, speaking of which, I mean, I think that
cash grab, shark jumping,
yeah,
bullshit.
That's the main reason. But I think that they wanted to establish the character of Judy, the Warren's daughter, a little bit. I'm not going to explain why, but I'm assuming that that's the real reason for this movie. Like, you know what happens, but even then, it's like, she's not really that interesting because her as a character, like, she's not as involved in any of the other movies, really. Is she going to be? Maybe, but I don't know. This movie just feels kind of worthless.
I mean, I would definitely go see it just so you'll be, like, caught up with the Conjuring universe and, like, the shit that goes down, but you don't really need to even to be caught up. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Out of, like, I don't know how to phrase. Okay. Out of 20, I would give this, like, a 12.
Okay. All right. What about, like, out of 5? 12.
17. No, it's like a 2.8, 2.7.
Okay. Yeah, I think I gave it like
6
2.5
out of 10.
or something. So, I mean, I will say this: the variety of, like, the demons and stuff like that is cool. I thought the overall kind of mood of the movie was pretty much in line with what you'd expect with The Conjuring. It was fine. You know, the atmosphere was good once it started getting rolling. I wasn't scared, but, you know, I was still kind of enjoying the tense atmosphere and everything. The acting was good. You know, it had those kind of humorous moments that the franchise is getting kind of known for at this point. And that's about it for me, you know, as far as, like, what I thought was good about it. It was just acceptable. It just doesn't need to exist. That's all.
It's more so a cash grab. It's a fun little movie, I guess. It's for kids, though. You know what I mean? This movie's for teenagers.
Oh, yeah. I would watch this movie over Annabelle, and that's probably about it. Maybe The Curse of La Llorona. I would probably watch this over that. Just for the demons or whatever. But
I'll take the CGI of the possession of Hannah Grace over Annabelle and over fucking Annabelle Comes Home.
Damn. Yeah, that's saying a lot, I think. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it. You know, it was okay, but it wasn't anything that great in my opinion. Pretty much just like really any other haunted house movie. So, with the exception of just the variety of the demons. So, I don't know. That's all I have to say about it. Guys, let us know what you think about it. But we are going to move on now into our final segment, where we're going to be looking at a brand new streaming horror film, and we've got something for you guys. So,
Oh, it's something.
it's something. So we are going to cover that next on The Chopping Block. And on this week's Chopping Block, Fiends, we have a new movie to hit Netflix. Really kind of ninja'd its way in there, but this one is called Soul to Keep by director David Allensworth and Monier. I don't know.
Hacks. No.
All right, so yeah, this one really kind of just snuck in there. I heard absolutely nothing about this movie.
Yep, Barnabas sent me a list of movies that we could potentially watch for the chopping block, and Soul to Keep. I was like, it could kind of be like, Wes Craven's, wasn't My Soul to Take?
Yeah. Although, I mean, not really fair comparison, but I know what you mean.
Just the name was what got me,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, this is going to be some demonic shit, so this might fit in with what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I needed a movie to shit on because it's been a while since I've talked crap about a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie starts off with someone's pop,
Yeah.
like died or whatever, and they never recovered his body. So what else you going to do besides have a party in his house? And then, nothing's really happening. People are just talking. There's a deaf girl, which, whatever, yeah, she's there. Everyone knows sign language, which, I'm sorry, but if my friend goes deaf, like, you better learn to read lips, motherfucker. I'm not going to learn to sign. But
Damn.
yeah, sorry, friends. But, nothing's really happening, and then these fuckers... I'm spoiling this whole movie, by the way. I don't give a fuck. They come across a grimoire, a.k.a. the Necronomicon from Evil Dead,
Yeah.
probably, in her pop's basement. And they're like, hey, we got a Wiccan witch with us to unpack this dark magic. It's dark.
Dark.
I had 106 one-night stands, dark magic. Whatever. And then apparently she knows how to read Latin, and they know all how to translate Latin and sign language too,
Yeah.
which is just super convenient. And then the deaf girl picks up on that, and she's like, "Is there a way to reverse this spell?" And then they're like, "Yeah, there's a way to reverse the spell." And then she takes some cell phone pictures and whatever. She devises a plan underneath the whole. Unbeknownst to us, this is what happens at the end. She had a plan. She drew a triangle in the field,
Which was stupid.
I'll get to it. But and then so they summon the ancient Canaanite demon Beelzebub, which, common misconception. Oh, Beelzebub, the devil. No, Beelzebub was the Canaanite deity known as Baal or Baal, and they worshipped him, and he often had qualms with death, in the old text, and so they summon him, and then they all start doing mushrooms or whatever and dancing in their dead
partying.
And, yeah, they're partying in dead grandfather's house, and then Beelzebub, sure, takes over Grace, who is the ginger chick,
The Wiccan.
the Wiccan
yeah.
with 106 one-night stands every 106,
Oh, yeah.
and then she proceeds to start acting weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then she possesses people kind of in the same way as Angela from Night of the Demons.
Yeah.
The tongue in the mouth or whatever, except this time it's like a giant worm, a la Night of the Creeps style.
Okay.
Then everyone starts... apparently when you get possessed, you have this urge to put in white contacts. So
Yeah.
everyone gets these white eyes, and they lock her in the basement, and apparently demons aren't allowed to unlock doors because you gotta invite them in, as if the ritual wasn't enough.
Right.
Anyway, she's locked in the basement. She starts standing there, and she's got this stupid evil smile on her face with blood coming out of her mouth,
Mhm.
and she calls her boyfriend an inchworm, and I don't know what the fuck was going on in this movie. The cinematography was bad.
Yeah.
The acting was bad. At even one point, one chick says, "We can't stop her. She's too powerful." This is not an anime, motherfuckers, all right? You don't fucking refer to anyone as powerful.
Yeah.
And the pacing was dreadful. The acting was bad. The only thing they really had down was the sign language, and
Mm-hmm.
like I said, why is there a deaf girl in this movie,
I mean, it's fine. I mean, they're the deaf people exist, obviously, but it just seemed like it
Well,
was.
I know they exist, but like, why do they just so happen to exist in this movie? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like think. Hey, let's make a movie. Hey, you know paraplegics, right? Yeah, I know about paraplegics. All right, we're gonna put one in this movie. Like, what? You know what I mean?
It,
Like,
it really only had like some relevance toward the end of the film, but even then, I don't know. It just felt like such a cheap inclusion. Like, I don't care that there's a deaf person in there and they're all signing to communicate with them. Like, whatever, that's fine. But yeah, it's just when you really kind of look at it, it's like, is it really that like important to do it? Apparently, the actress is deaf in real life, so I mean that makes sense. But but still, it was, I don't know. It just seemed like it was such a prominent feature of this movie, and it really wasn't like that important. You know what I mean?
it really wasn't.
Not from the aspect of like her inclusion, but just, I don't know. It wasn't as big of a deal as they were trying to make it. It seemed that way,
I can't believe she signed a spell.
Yeah, there are a lot of questionable writing decisions in this movie, dude. I mean, overall, just okay, I was like 40 minutes into this movie. I didn't know how far into the movie I was, right? And I paused it to do something, and I looked at it. I was like, why the fuck are there 50 minutes left in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, what else is gonna happen? It seemed like nothing was happening, and then a lot happened in like 10 minutes, and then nothing was really happening again for like 35 minutes, and then the end kind of happened, and I was like, okay. And then the twist happened, and I was like, this is stupid. And then it just kind of continued downhill from there. It just, I don't know, they hadn't like no substance or like thought behind it at all.
There was no point. Like, it's like, all right, cool. And then we find out one of them was like in cahoots from the beginning,
Yeah.
and she killed her. Spoiler alert. Pop. I'm really telling you this because I don't want you to watch this.
Okay.
Don't make the same mistake we did unless you want to talk shit about it. This is one of the only times we'll have like a spoiler for like the chopping block.
Sure.
All right. But like, do not watch this movie. All right. Seriously, don't.
Yeah.
It's not even fun. A little like. There's like schlock and trash. This
Mhm.
is fucking useless. This is a useless fucking movie.
Yeah. No, it's really bad, dude. Like, I mean, the whole teenagers partying thing, I mean, obviously it's been done to death, but even in like 80s, 90s movies, there are redeemable qualities. There are just no redeemable qualities in this movie. None of the characters really have redeemable qualities at all. I guess the main guy, because he was like the most normal guy, but I didn't give a shit about whether he was going to live or die or anything,
See, this movie could have worked if it didn't take itself like so seriously, but
Yeah.
like it was so fucking serious that you're just like, wow, at least learn to like act or
Yeah.
like put together like a coherent story with like some sort of substance, even a
Mhm.
little bit. Like, nope, grandpa died because I stabbed him so I could summon Beelzebub so I can be with this chick who's with
Yeah.
a little dick jock and she's had 103 one night stands and she's a dark witch.
Yeah. And like
Like, oh, what? Like,
it was weird, man. Like, but also similar to Night of the Creeps, this movie had a bunch of like references and homages, but it didn't feel like there was any point to them in this movie. I guess it was because the plot was sort of derivative of The Evil Dead, but even then, it was just, I don't know. It was just poorly executed.
I really think it was. I don't think this movie should have been made. I don't know why it's on Netflix. It's like Netflix is like, yo, let's take off the Babadook.
Mhm.
Let's take out the Conjuring. Right? And now let's just start putting trash movies. You know what? Hike up the price by $3. Like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. No, it just, I don't know. It wasn't good, man. I mean, it took the haunted house kind of deal, or I don't know, demon house deal, and really just put it in the toilet bowl and mixed it up and was like, all right, here's the same movie that you saw 200 times, but everybody in it sucks at acting.
And also, here's a deaf girl for no reason.
Yeah.
Why do that?
I don't know, man. It was just, there's a lot of questions that I have.
And
but
one death.
yeah. And you know what, too? One thing that I was actually really thinking about, even right from the beginning, just, I don't know, poorly edited. Like, there was no color grading done at all. It's just like if I'm looking right now at the wall, like that's how this movie looked like.
There's
and
only
it
one
was just
part
bad.
that had like that yellow color palette.
Mhm.
And that's when she was in the basement trying to like conjured the other dude.
Yeah.
And then they showed the outside, and it had the same color grading as Jeepers Creepers 2. That just yellow, orange fucking...
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's 400 degrees outside, and we're in a hopeless countryside.
It's like sepia or whatever.
Yeah, have you ever watched The Revenge of Bloody Bill?
No.
Death Valley? Okay, the exact same color palette as that. And that was actually a good one, but they should have stuck with that throughout the whole movie. It would have made it, like, a hell of a lot creepier.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't look like they did anything at all to it. It looks like what they did was they got the files, they hooked it up, threw it into whatever idiotic program that they were using, fucking Sony Vegas or some shit. I don't know. They took like the stock footage, they cut it up, and they released that as the movie. That's what it looked like to me. So there's just no like cinematic quality to this movie at all. The actual cinematography, like you mentioned, was terrible.
It really was.
Whoever was on the handheld for that needs to be fired permanently.
I think everyone needs to be fired.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this group of people just needs to split up. They might have had a deaf person in the film, but I guess they had a blind guy editing this film.
Ouch. Yeah, it's true though.
And I understand employing impaired people, but not for editing. Come on. Why you got a blind guy on the editing?
It really felt like that, unfortunately. So, yeah, really, I can't really say anything positive about this movie, unfortunately. It was just trash. I'm sorry. So, obviously it's not chopped for you, right, Samuel?
Obviously it's not chopped. Chop it into a million pieces, set it on fire, and piss out the fire before it completely turns to ash. Because then that ash is going to blow away into the wind, and I'm going to breathe it in. And I don't even want to look at this movie, let alone breathe this piece of shit in.
Just destroy every molecule.
I can't believe you edited this movie, put it together, sat down and probably watched it and been like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You know what it is nowadays? I think it's now because like you can't criticize anyone for anything. So no one can just sit these guys down and be like, guys, look, don't release this film. It's a piece of shit. Because you're going to hurt their feelings, right? Because like you got to tell everyone that everything they put out is great and amazing, or they'll have a meltdown and need a safe space. Like
it really is like that, dude, in the film industry. Just straight up. So, yeah, ouch. I mean, I think that people just need to actually watch like good movies and learn and understand. And like, even if you're on a shoestring budget, which it looks like these guys were like, selling the lint out of their pockets for
that. Look at
equipment rentals. Yeah, like you just have to have a decent understanding of framing, lighting, just general like shot composition and how to edit like pretty effectively.
Honestly, my biggest qualm was whoever wrote the script and the cinematographer.
Yeah.
Those two people should be fired. You should get spinning hook kicked in the fucking head.
Man.
I can't believe David Allensworth. You're the director, bro. You're supposed to like follow these motherfuckers around and be like, yeah, that's a good shot.
Right.
I can't believe someone like they had this one shot of like this chick was turning a corner and the camera was at like the bottom of like that corner that she turned looking up, and it was just the most disgusting shot of her running around the corner, and it was like in the house, and it was just so bad. Like, holy fuck. Like
it just, I mean, the shot itself was pretty bad, but I think what made it worse was just that it felt out of place.
It really did.
In that whole sequence, so
I think whoever directed this, they just never been punched before, so they've never like faced any sort of adversity. So like those are these are like the guys that need to be like, you judge my movie, why don't you make something better? I did when I had a fucking handheld camcorder where you put the little VHS tapes inside the bigger VHS fucking thing, and then you pop it in the VCR, otherwise it can't fit. Like,
yeah, guys. So if you have watched it, let us know what you think. We do not recommend it at all. So that's going to wrap it up here, I think, for the show. You can reach out to us on all our social media, Facebook, Instagram, at Grave Discussions, and Twitter at GraveDiscSRD.
This movie was recorded off a George Foreman grill.
Oh, man. You can check out our website as well, gravediscussions.net. So get in touch with us. Let us know your thoughts. And we'll be back next week for episode 69.
Oh, yeah, 69 on Grave Discussions.
This has been an SRD production.